You've replayed an awkward moment from 5 years ago. You sometimes overthink a simple text. You act differently depending on who you're with. None of this is random. It's psychology. There are patterns in your behavior that you didn't choose. Reactions you repeat without understanding, and thoughts that feel like yours, but aren't entirely under your control. You might believe you're making conscious decisions every day, but the truth is much of your behavior is influenced by hidden psychological forces working quietly in the background. In this video, you'll discover psychology facts that explain why you behave the way you do, and why you can't seem to stop. Some of these insights will feel uncomfortably accurate, like someone is reading your mind. Others may challenge what you thought you knew about yourself, but by the end, one thing will be clear. Your mind is far more complex and far less obedient than you think. Human behavior is not as simple as I think, therefore I act. Beneath every decision, every reaction, and every emotion lies a network of mental shortcuts, biases, and survival mechanisms that have been built over thousands of years. Your brain is not designed to make you perfect. It is designed to keep you safe, even if that safety comes at the cost of your happiness, confidence, or growth. This means that many of the things you struggle with, overthinking, self-doubt, fear of embarrassment, even procrastination, are not signs of weakness. They are psychological patterns. And once you begin to see these patterns clearly, you start to realize something powerful. You are not broken. You are programmed. But here's the twist. Just because you are programmed doesn't mean you are powerless. Awareness is the first step to control. And in this first section, we're going to uncover one of the most important truths about human behavior. Your mind doesn't always work for you. Sometimes it works against you. Your brain has a built-in bias toward negativity. This is not an accident. It's a survival mechanism. Thousands of years ago, remembering danger was more important than remembering pleasure. So your brain evolved to hold on to negative experiences longer, replay them more vividly, and prioritize them over positive ones. That's why one embarrassing moment can stay with you for years, while compliments fade almost instantly. This is also why your mind tends to overthink situations that haven't even happened yet. Overthinking is not just random anxiety. It is your brain attempting to simulate different outcomes in order to protect you from potential failure or rejection. The problem is, instead of preparing you, it often traps you in endless loops of what-if scenarios, making small decisions feel overwhelming and simple interactions feel high stakes. Another powerful trick your mind plays is making you believe that every thought you have is true. When a negative thought appears, "I'm not good enough, they don't like me, I'm going to fail," it doesn't feel like a suggestion, it feels like reality. But in truth, your brain generates thousands of thoughts daily, many of which are distorted, exaggerated, or completely false. Yet you rarely stop to question them. Even more surprising is this. Your brain often prefers familiar pain over unfamiliar success. If you've been used to a certain level of comfort, behavior, or even struggle, your mind will resist change, even if that change could improve your life. This is why people stay in toxic relationships, delay important decisions, or quit right before a breakthrough. It's not because they want to fail. It's because their brain is trying to protect them from the unknown. So when you find yourself stuck overthinking, or holding on to negative memories understand this. It's not random. It's your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do. The challenge is not to silence your mind, but to recognize when it's misleading you. Because once you begin to question your thoughts instead of blindly believing them, you take the first real step toward taking control of your behavior. There is a powerful force shaping your behavior every single day. Whether you notice it or not, it's not logic, it's not intelligence, it's not even your personal values. It is your need for validation. The desire to be accepted, approved of, and understood by others is one of the strongest psychological drivers in human behavior, and it often operates beneath your awareness. From a psychological perspective, your brain processes social rejection in a way that is almost identical to physical pain. This means that being ignored, criticized, or excluded doesn't just feel bad. Your brain interprets it as a real threat. That's why a simple negative comment can stay in your mind for hours, even days, while 10 positive ones barely register. Your brain is wired to protect you from rejection, and in doing so, it pushes you to seek approval, even when you don't realize it. This is why people often change their behavior depending on who they are around. You may speak differently with friends, act more reserved around authority figures, or even adjust your opinions to match the group. This isn't necessarily fake, it's adaptive. Your mind is constantly scanning your environment and asking one silent question: what version of me will be accepted here? And before you consciously decide, your behavior shifts. One of the clearest examples of this is seen in how people interact online. You post something and without thinking, you check how many people liked it. Then you check again and again. Each notification gives a small sense of validation, a brief psychological reward that reinforces the behavior. Over time, this creates a loop where your sense of worth becomes tied, subtly but powerfully, to how others respond to you. But the deeper truth is this: even people who claim they don't care what others think are still influenced by validation. It may not come from everyone, but it comes from someone. Friends, family, mentors, or even strangers whose opinions you value. The need for validation doesn't disappear, it simply becomes more selective. And here's where it becomes dangerous. When your behavior is driven too much by external approval, you slowly lose connection with your internal identity. You begin to make decisions not based on what you truly want, but on what will be accepted, praised, or avoided. This can lead to people-pleasing, fear of speaking honestly, and a constant feeling of being misunderstood, even when others seem to like you. So the next time you hesitate before expressing yourself or feel uneasy after someone reacts negatively to you, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, is this truly me? Or is this my need for validation trying to protect me? Because once you become aware of that influence, you begin to separate who you are from who you feel pressured to be. And that awareness is where real confidence starts to grow. You like to believe you are one consistent person, that your personality is fixed, stable, and clearly defined. But in reality, who you are is far more flexible than you think. In different environments, around different people, and under different pressures, you unconsciously become different versions of yourself. And most of the time, you don't even notice it happening. Think about it. The way you speak with your close friends is not the same way you speak in a formal setting. Around family, you may act more relaxed or more reserved depending on your role. In front of someone you admire, you may become more careful, more polished, or even slightly performative. None of these versions are fake. They are all real, but they are all different expressions of you. This happens because your brain is constantly reading social cues and adjusting your behavior to fit the situation. Without thinking, you pick up on tone, body language, status, and expectations. Then almost instantly, your mind selects a version of your personality that it believes will work best in that environment. It's not a conscious decision, it's automatic adaptation. One of the strongest forces behind this is something psychologists call mirroring. You subconsciously imitate the behavior, speech patterns, and even attitudes of the people around you. If someone speaks calmly, you slow down. If they are energetic, you become more expressive. This creates a sense of connection and familiarity, making interactions smoother. But it also means that part of who you are is constantly being shaped by who you are around. Over time, this creates an interesting question. Which version of you is the real one? The confident version, the quiet one, the serious one, the playful one. The truth is, there isn't just one. Your identity is not a single fixed point, it's a range. A collection of behaviors, traits, and responses that shift depending on context. But here's where it becomes important. If you are not aware of this, you can begin to lose track of your core self. You may find yourself agreeing with things you don't truly believe, holding back opinions, or acting in ways that don't feel authentic, just to fit into a certain environment. And over time, this can create a subtle sense of confusion about who you really are. So the goal is not to eliminate these different versions of yourself. That's impossible. The goal is to become aware of them, to recognize when you are adapting naturally and when you are abandoning your true thoughts or values just to be accepted. Because once you can tell the difference, you stop being controlled by the situation. And you start choosing how you show up in it. Most people believe that if they truly want something, success, growth, happiness, they will naturally move toward it. But that's not how the human mind works. Your brain is not designed to make you successful. It is designed to keep you safe. And in many cases, what feels safe is not what helps you grow, it's what keeps you stuck. This is why you often find yourself avoiding things that you know are good for you. Starting something new, taking a risk, speaking up, or stepping outside your comfort zone can trigger resistance almost instantly. That resistance is not laziness. It's your brain detecting uncertainty and interpreting it as potential danger. Even if the outcome could improve your life, the unfamiliarity alone is enough to make your mind push back. One of the clearest examples of this is procrastination. People often think procrastination is about poor discipline or lack of motivation. But psychologically, it is much deeper than that. Procrastination is emotional avoidance. When a task feels overwhelming, uncomfortable, or tied to fear of failure, your brain looks for immediate relief. And the easiest way to get that relief is to delay the task entirely. But here's where it becomes even more surprising. Your brain doesn't just fear failure, it can also fear success. Success brings change, new expectations, more visibility, and sometimes more pressure. If your mind is used to a certain level of comfort or identity, stepping into a higher level can feel unstable. So instead of moving forward, you hesitate, overthink, or sabotage your own progress without realizing why. This is why people sometimes quit right before a breakthrough. They get close to something meaningful, an opportunity, a goal, a transformation, and suddenly they pull back. They lose momentum, create excuses, or shift focus entirely. On the surface, it looks like a lack of commitment. But underneath it is often the brain trying to return to what feels familiar and predictable. The deeper truth is this: growth always feels uncomfortable at first, not because something is wrong, but because your brain is encountering something new, and your natural instinct is to retreat to what you already know, even if it no longer serves you. This is the hidden conflict between who you are and who you are trying to become. So when you feel resistance, hesitation, or the urge to delay something important, don't immediately assume you are weak or incapable. Instead, recognize what is happening. Your brain is choosing comfort over progress. And the moment you become aware of that pattern, you gain the ability to challenge it. Because real growth begins the moment you move forward, even when your mind is telling you not to. One of the biggest psychological illusions you experience every day is the feeling that people are paying close attention to you. You walk into a room, say something slightly off, or make a small mistake, and suddenly, it feels like everyone noticed. Your mind magnifies the moment, making it seem bigger, louder, and more important than it actually is. But the truth is far simpler and far more freeing. Most people are not thinking about you as much as you think they are. They are too busy thinking about themselves, their own appearance, their own problems, their own insecurities, and how they are being perceived. This is what psychologists refer to as the spotlight effect, the tendency to overestimate how much others notice and judge your behavior. This explains why you can replay a small social mistake in your mind for hours while the other person has already forgotten it. To you, it feels significant because it's happening inside your mind. But to them, it was just one moment in a day filled with their own thoughts and concerns. What feels like a major event to you often barely registers for anyone else. This also changes how you understand confidence. Many people assume confident individuals are fearless or unaffected by judgment. But in reality, confidence often comes from a different perspective. They are less focused on how others are judging them, and more focused on what they want to express. It's not that they are immune to pressure, they simply aren't trapped by the illusion that everyone is watching them closely. Another interesting truth is that first impressions, while powerful, are often inaccurate. People make quick judgments based on limited information, but those judgments are influenced by their own biases, mood, and expectations. This means that even when someone forms an opinion about you, it is not always a clear reflection of who you actually are. It is filtered through their own perception. And once you truly understand this, something shifts. The fear of being judged begins to lose its intensity. You realize that the pressure you feel is often coming from within, not from the outside. The spotlight you think is on you is in most cases an illusion created by your own mind. So the next time you hesitate, overthink, or feel self-conscious, remember this. People are not analyzing you the way you imagine. They are navigating their own thoughts, just like you are. And when you stop placing yourself at the center of everyone else's attention, you gain something incredibly powerful. Freedom to act, speak, and exist without constant fear of judgment. By now, you've seen something most people go through life without ever fully understanding. Your thoughts are not always reliable. Your behavior is influenced by forces you rarely notice. Your need for validation, your fear of discomfort, your shifting identity, and even your perception of others. All of it is shaped by psychological patterns running in the background of your mind. And the most important realization is this: you are not as in control of your behavior as you think you are. That might sound uncomfortable at first, because we like to believe that we are fully aware, fully intentional, and fully in charge of our decisions. But the truth is, much of what you do happens automatically. You react before you reflect, you think before you question, you adapt before you even realize you've changed. And without awareness, these patterns continue to shape your life on repeat. But here's where everything shifts. The moment you become aware of these patterns, you begin to separate yourself from them. Instead of being controlled by every thought, you start observing them. Instead of reacting automatically, you begin to pause. That small gap between stimulus and response, that moment of awareness, is where your real power begins. It means you can notice when your mind is exaggerating fear. You can recognize when you are seeking validation instead of being authentic. You can catch yourself when you are about to retreat into comfort instead of stepping into growth. And slowly, with practice, you begin to make decisions that are not just automatic, but intentional. This doesn't mean you will suddenly control every thought or eliminate every negative feeling. That's not how the human mind works. But it does mean you will no longer be completely unaware. And that alone changes everything. Because awareness turns unconscious patterns into conscious choices. So as you move forward, remember this. Your mind is powerful, but it is not always accurate. Your behavior is influenced, but it is not fixed. And the more you understand how your psychology works, the more control you gain over the direction of your life. Now you see it. You can't unseen it. The overthinking, the need for validation, the different versions of yourself, the fear of stepping out of your comfort zone, it's all connected. It's all part of how your mind works. And once you become aware of it, the way you see yourselves and others will never be the same again. But awareness is only the beginning. The real question is, what will you do with it? Will you continue to let these patterns run your life in the background? Or will you start paying attention, questioning your thoughts, and choosing your actions more carefully? Because every moment you become aware is a moment you have the chance to change something. If this opened your eyes even a little, then there's a lot more to uncover. Human behavior is deeper than most people realize. And once you start understanding it, you begin to see the world differently. So if you're ready to understand yourself and others on a whole new level, make sure you stay connected. Subscribe to the Behavior Lab channel. Share this video and like it. Because this is just the beginning.